Thank you very much, Minister Hofer. You can be sure that our ministry and our minister always supports and encourages and motivates us, of course, to thrive forward for improvements for aviation and especially for general aviation too. So in this regard, today's and tomorrow's EASA Annual Conference is an excellent opportunity to discuss the ideas that shape European aviation. This year we focus on the future of general aviation in Europe. We all know the General Aviation Roadmap, established in Rome a few years ago, was a first step towards a change in the way we address general aviation. A lot has been done and achieved, and the most important point, to my view, is the welcome change in the approach, in the attitude, in the mindset that we have been witnessing. It's for rather than against general aviation. I think we agree that we have to look at general aviation from a holistic perspective. We should identify related risks, establish adequate regulations, as well as proportionate enforcement measures. This is highly demanding, especially for regulators, because they must strive to find the right balance between mainly descriptive and performance-based regulation. As a consequence, current practices may no longer be sufficient. We therefore need measures such as safety promotion, for example, and initiatives to adequately address the specific risks. General aviation has proven to be a pioneering sector in that regard, an example how modern oversight and monitoring activities can achieve our enhanced safety targets. Available safety data shows that the human error, human failure, remains a key factor in accidents, something which also should be kept in mind when discussing risk mitigation and should be an area to focus on for the future. Another pressing issue, one which also affects civil aviation, is the limited capacity of airspace available. Commercial air transport is a fast-growing economy. Drones will play even a more important role in the future. At the same time, the airspace available remains unchanged. And that's why it is necessary to incorporate general aviation into airspace design with operational suitability. Sustainability does not spare general aviation. Indeed, it must be our common aim to support environmentally friendly aircraft and operating procedures in order to foster public acceptance of general aviation in today's society. And keeping in mind that aviation innovations have their roots in finding solutions for general aviation needs, we should do our utmost to ensure that this innovative spirit is kept and promoted as a key motivator for shaping future aviation industry. So for today and tomorrow, I wish us all fruitful discussions and a way forward to defining a safe and supporting environment for our European general aviation community in future. And we are looking forward, of course, to welcoming you to our evening reception at the Kursalon Wien in the evening. But first of all, it is my pleasure to ask Patrick Key and to thank him for the initiative for General Aviation Roadmap and for the discussions we're now holding here, and to ask him to join me on the floor. The floor is yours, Patrick. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elisabeth. Mr. Minister Hofer, dear Elisabeth, dear colleagues and friends, it's a pleasure and an honor for me to be here in Vienna. Again, we were together at an aviation summit not too long ago. And I would like to thank you, the Austrian state, for accepting to host us for this important event for us, for General Aviation. We had a similar event in Rome 4 years ago. I guess that a number of you have been there in Rome, where we decided to launch the GA roadmap version 1.0, if I may say. And when we decided to launch this first roadmap, should I dare to say that we were met with a certain amount of skepticism? Am I right to say so? Ian, what do you think? A little bit, thank you. I hope that today and tomorrow we won't be facing the same level of skepticism, but a much greater amount of enthusiasm in helping us in finding a way towards the GA Roadmap 2.0, which is where we would like to take General Aviation and EASA in the next years. What have we been able to achieve in the last 4 to 5 years? Well, there is a panel which will say so. I hope you will agree with me that we have achieved some results in the last years, and in particular, as Elisabeth was mentioning, in terms of change of culture, change of mindset of the regulators in order to deal with general aviation. I hope we have achieved some results. Maybe not enough, maybe we should have gone a bit further, but that's for the conference to decide on whether or not we should take it further and in which direction. I'm not going to go through all the different topics that we agreed on, but I don't know if you remember in Rome, what we saw was, for me, astonishing statistics on the fact that in the US, it is 50% safer to fly GA than in Europe, statistically. The aircraft are the same. The pilots are not the same, obviously. We are not American pilots here. One could argue that the weather conditions in Europe are different from the US, but a lot of the work that we have done in EASA, but with you, was to try to understand why we have this difference. And we have come up with a certain number of measures, in particular on training. I think that's one of the keys. Also in terms of culture, mindset, the safety mindset that we need to develop in Europe. And that's why, again, Elisabeth said it all. We want to invest into safety promotion, easier access to training, that also is in line with what you said, Mr. Minister, on how can we ensure that we have a better access to the young pilots for training. So I think we have done some effort. We can do better. We simplified the rules for maintenance as well, which I think was welcome. We simplified access to training. We simplified the rules. That was something which I thought could be interesting. Do you know how much time is needed in average for EASA between the time we start a rule-making exercise and the time the rule is adopted? Do you know how much time on the average? 4 years. 8 years. Who's for 10? 6 years. Okay, on the average, Jirki, you have the answer, the Commission. So on the average, it's between 4 and 5 years, which is far too slow, far too slow. So what we have tried to do and test with General Aviation was a much shorter rule-making process. And we've tried with General Aviation, we've tried with balloons. With balloons. How much did it take us for the balloons? 2 years. Nearly 3 years for the entire process. So we've made some we gained 1 year, 1/4 of the delay, which was good enough. It's not still good enough, and I think we can do better. But that's our internal cuisine between the Commission and us. So, but you have to take into account this slowness of the rulemaking process in understanding as well that not everything can be solved easily through rules, and that we need to find other ways to deal with general aviation and in order to have safer general aviation. So this year, you will see that in the program that we have prepared, we talk a lot about innovation, new technologies, new business models, things which can be game changers in our field. And I hope that we will find very interesting discussions and very interesting ideas that we can capitalize on when we discuss about the roadmap 2.0. But finally, and that's also something I wanted to mention to you, what we found dealing with GA is that we are working with passionate people. General Aviation, you are all in this business because you are passionate about aviation. The minister is passionate about aviation. I am passionate about aviation. I've spent my entire career on aviation. And we should never forget that our field is about passion. It's about vision. It's about pioneer. And I'm very pleased that in our program for these 2 days, we have visionary people, we have pioneers. You will see André Borschberg, the next speaker after me, who will explain to you his fabulous adventure. We'll have Guillaume Ferral, who will explain to us what his intentions are. Ivo Boscarol, one of the pioneers in new technologies, will explain to us. We need these types of people, visionary, pioneers, who can take us who can take us ahead and higher with their passion. So let me just conclude by saying that I'm very happy to be here. I will be less happy if you challenge us too much, but I'm interested in your comments, in also your constructive remarks on what we could have done better, and what we still need to do. There is still an awful lot to do. Thank you very much.